The No Nonsense Roundtable. It's a weekly show broadcast on Rochester, New York's 50,000-watt iHeart radio station, News Radio Wham 1180. The host, Dom Geneva, interviews guests from all walks of life, all with amazing stories to tell. What you are about to hear is a recording of a previous broadcast without the breaks and commercials. Now, here's host Dom Geneva.
Well, welcome again to another edition of the No Nonsense Roundtable. We are here for the third time. I am honored to have you here. The mayor of the city of Rochester, Malik Evans. Thank you for being here.
Dom, great to be back with you, and I'm glad this is the third time. They say the third time's a charm, but I think we may have to do this every year now, being that we've created this tradition.
I think you should come down and co-host with me sometime.
Maybe one day I will.
Yeah, bring somebody down and that you want to illustrate about the great things in Rochester. So it's the last show of the year, December 30th.
December 30th.
December 30th.
Yeah.
And it's been a long and interesting year, hasn't it?
It's been a long and interesting year, but it's been a good year for Rochester. Obviously, all cities across America always have their challenges, but what I am most happy and excited about are the opportunities, and we've seen lots of them in the city of Rochester, particularly over this past year.
Well, one of the things I like to do with the show is illustrate people you don't know and you should know, but everybody knows you. But let's talk about the things in Rochester that people maybe have a question about, but they don't know the particulars. I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. There's the buy the block program, guaranteed income. I mean, people have a lot of questions about all these things, Malik. So pick your favorite and let's start with that.
Well, I think one of my favorite things is I for years when I first was running back in 2021, I complained about the corner of Main and Clinton. I said it was an abomination and that we were going to do something about it. Finally, construction is going to start next year on that corner going west, and we're doing something about it. So we're looking at about almost a $212 million investment that's going to happen near that corner. And a building by the name of Harper's Corner is going to be the anchor of that corner of Main and Clinton. And then then you're going to have the Edwards building, the Glennie building, the Kresge building. All those places are going to be transformed, and it's going to change that corner from the horrible eyesore right in the middle of our city, which I'm not a fan of, because it denotes a lack of caring, and that's going to be transformed. So I'm excited about that.
Well, and I'm a little bit of a marketing guy, right?
Right.
So you go into you're going down Clinton Avenue, and you go, look at the Welcome to Rochester. It looks pretty good. And then you're looking at the Xerox building. Oh, it looks pretty good. And then you get to that corner.
That's right.
And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like Rust Belt looking. It doesn't give you a good impression. It's like you give a presentation and you have a soft spot on your tie.
Right. Exactly.
You shouldn't have that.
Right. You shouldn't have that. And the rest of the tie looks great, but that one spot. And that's the way it looks, because on all the other corners, it's amazing. The beautiful new Gannett building.
Oh, yeah.
You got the beautiful Sibley building that we are attracting tons of businesses to. So that was the one piece that was missing on that four corners, that one piece of the puzzle. So to see that was extremely exciting. So that's exciting on the building side. I love the building part of the city. That's the fun part of being mayor. I tell people all the time is you get to watch these buildings go up. But the people side, we launched something called the Office of Financial Empowerment, which is about moving from a poverty mindset to a prosperity mindset. And that is very hard for people to do. But that office is a symbol of how you move there. And that office is focused on three things: entrepreneurship, which I am very into, is one of my favorite things to talk about. Home ownership, which is important to me because I think that the home ownership rate in the city of Rochester is extremely too low. And then the third piece is youth, focusing on youth. And in that youth component, we are getting ready to launch a youth savings account, because we want to be able to say that any kid that's in the city of Rochester that's entering kindergarten, we will set up a savings account for them, and their families can contribute to it, that they then can use those dollars for college or trade school or whatever it is they want to be able to do. So that office is all about transforming from a poverty mindset to a prosperity mindset. We know that 3 of the top 5 poorest zip codes are in Rochester. We know that. So the question is, how can we change that? Government can't do this alone. But what we could do is set the conditions and from our bully pulpit say, here are some of the things that we're going to do to change that. So the Office of Financial Empowerment, which we launched this year, is also something that was very, very exciting this year, among other things.
Well, you're touching on something that actually touches my heart in that we need to engage young people sooner with financial literacy.
Yes.
Right. And some bankers, some organizations got to be able to put something together where we can do that and teach them the basics of having a checking account, financing, savings account, like you said. And that's a great idea.
Right. And I mean, all the data shows, I worked in the financial services industry for 20 years before becoming mayor full time. All the data shows that if you start out with financial education and creating those seeds of habits very early on, young people are more likely, number one, to be employed, more likely, number two, to not be up to their eyeballs in debt, and more likely also to make sure that they are making good financial decisions that will allow them to create generational wealth and be able to provide for their family. So the concept of this Office of Financial Empowerment is absolutely amazing. And it's something that I believe will have a major impact in Rochester as we look at trying to build a more prosperous future for our city.
Well, and some of this stuff sounds interesting and kind of cool. You're talking about a tree program?
Yeah, well, that's another thing that's exciting this year is that I had a goal when I got into office to plant 5,000 new trees throughout the city of Rochester. So what we did was we cut the city of Rochester in 4. We have the northeast section, the southeast section, the northwest section, and the southwest section. And then we said, what is the tree canopy score? Almost like a report card in each one of these sections. So 0 to 100, 100 being the best, 0 being the worst. And we zeroed in on the areas of the city where their tree canopy wasn't as great. So in the Cobbs Hill neighborhood, great tree canopy. And the southwest portion of the city in the 19th Ward over near Genesee Valley, great tree canopy. And the northeast, not so much. So we found dollars to be able to plant these trees, and we are on our way to being almost halfway of our goal to plant these trees in these areas. Now, why is this important? It all goes back to economic development. Areas that have greater amounts of trees, the houses appraise for higher values. Areas that have more trees, they have less incidences of asthma and other issues that might be related to not having trees. Trees are good for the environment, but they're also good for people, but they also make good economic sense.
Yeah, and it kind of makes some sense because, a lot of sense actually, because, we talk about planting trees in the forest and forestation, whatever. How about having urban forestation?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And when you think about the urban area, sometimes you just think, oh, it's just concrete.
Yeah,
we say no, we can actually do that. And why that makes sense is because it also fits in with the High Falls State Park, which is going to be happening in Rochester down by High Falls. We will only be the second or third urban state park in all of New York. So we are saying that although you are in an urban environment, we should be able to have these spaces that can be oasis for people to be able to escape and get that feel of being in the woods, of being able to escape. And our tree canopy project is a part of that.
Spaces that are oasis. So you could tell you're a son of a preacher.
That's right.
Well, with that, we're about ready to head to our first break, and we'll be talking more to the mayor right after this. Well, welcome back. We're talking to Rochester Mayor Malik Evans. Third time on the show. Thank you ever so much.
Third time.
Yes, and you're recording in my studio, so you had to actually get out of Rochester to do this. So I really do appreciate this. We're in Honey Falls. You probably don't hear owls where you are, but I was listening to an owl last night.
Oh, we love those owls. We love those owls.
So let's talk about economically what is happening in a big sense and a small sense, micro and macro in Rochester.
Well, I think that you're seeing let's talk about the big sense first. In the big sense, you are seeing lots of companies decide to locate in Rochester, which I think is a game changer. Obviously, Constellations Brands is moving their headquarters downtown to Rochester, which is going to be a major anchor. Right in the center of downtown, which is going to be great. But you have also other companies following suit, moving downtown Rochester, particularly in the Sibley's building and other places. Sun Density, which is a photonics company, new company. I cut the ribbon on that business a couple of weeks ago. Downtown, Bandwidth, downtown, JCS and Ultrafill. is coming downtown. These are all large-scale technology companies that will create 100 jobs that are going to be downtown. And the high-tech incubator at NextCore in the Sibley building, they are running out of space for all of the small tech businesses that are going to be there downtown. And then Green Spark Technology announced that the Rochester Top 100, they were number one at the Rochester Top 100. They are relocating their office to a building downtown and bringing 120 jobs with them. So on the large scale sense, you got a lot of medium to larger size businesses bringing their business here. But what I'm also most excited about are the smaller businesses. The businesses with 10 or fewer employees that are popping up all over Rochester and creating to the vibrancy of our community.
Yeah, and what I've found through interviewing people on the show, a lot of them are women owned, which is fantastic. I saw you at the
Neutral Grounds.
Yeah, Neutral Grounds. We call it not a groundbreaking, but ribbon cutting. Ribbon cutting there. What a neat little place there.
Great place there. Women-owned business, beautiful space. And not only why we're excited about that, she has a place not only in Pittsford,
right,
but she could have expanded anywhere.
Right.
But she expanded in the city of Rochester in the Cornhill neighborhood. I think that is huge. I think a Que Cheve, which was a restaurant, a Latino restaurant that was in a incubator space, a board that I helped start. I helped start the commissary, which is a kitchen incubator places for food businesses in Rochester. As I tell people, our one of our artistic businesses in Rochester is just not art, but food businesses are also the artistic businesses that we have in Rochester. And she is opening in the old Sticky Lips on Culver Road. Okay. And she started out as an incubator, another woman-owned businesses. So you are seeing lots of businesses across the city popping up, and it's just great for us. It's great for sales tax revenue. It's great for growth. It's great for jobs. It's great for employment, but it's also great in terms of having a place in Rochester that many people can go to and support.
Well, I'll give you two more examples too. This is Marilla Lepsker. Who started that? Her original business was in Geneva, and she moved to the South Wedge there.
That's right.
With Marilla's Mindful Supplies. And someday I discovered this is, like I said, one of the reasons I do the show is Nita Brown.
Yes, Park Avenue.
400 square feet of beautiful fabric and clothes and whatever she gets from Ghana. Yeah, Ghana makes custom makes clothes. Beautiful stuff, but people don't know about these things.
People don't know about these things, and they're just business in general. They don't know on Vigneri chocolate.
Yeah.
Vigneri chocolate. All the chocolate bars in Wegmans are made by Vigneri chocolate. All the chocolate you see in Big Lots and Walmart are made in the city of Rochester by Vigneri chocolate, which is on East Main Street. So we have so many of these businesses, and he's just expanded. I mentioned him earlier this year in my State of the City address when I was talking about the power of entrepreneurship, the power of the entrepreneurial spirit, the power of entrepreneurs being able to move Rochester to the next level, to the next place, because we're so still caught sometimes in what was. I said, we're no longer going to talk about what was. We're going to talk about what is now and what will be in the future. And many of these businesses are innovators, are people that are doing great things for Rochester. The number one selling product in the city of Rochester, on QVC, is made in the city of Rochester. The popcorn place that is in the city of Rochester. You got to have him on the show. He makes popcorn, and they are right in the city of Rochester, which is also amazing. So we got a lot of places where they're making history, but more so they're also creating to the vibrancy of the city, which is exciting.
Well, you have a lot of things going on. I mean, well, you scheduled a lunar eclipse for this year, right? Or a solar eclipse. I'm sorry.
Total solar
eclipse. Yes.
We are looking at having possibly anywhere between we could have possibly 300,000 people descend on the city of Rochester.
Yeah.
As a result of this eclipse, it's so big right now that we asked schools to be closed that day. Schools are closed for that day because this is going to be such a big eclipse. It will not happen again for probably another 125, 130 years. This is going to be transformational for Rochester. We believe that it will be a big economic driver. For us, we believe that but we also know that. And we also know that if you are in any of the big cities like Philly or New York City or any of these other places, you're going to have to come to Rochester because it is really Rochester that is in the best path of totality to be able to see this total solar eclipse.
Well, the other thing is you have the infrastructure to support this. I mean, you might be able to see it, in Lackawanna or whatever, Buffalo, that area, whatever. But you don't have a lot of hotels when you're talking.
We have the infrastructure,
if it's in Utica, whatever.
And we have the places you can go on Parcel 5, or you can go to Charlotte, or you can go up on the Cobbs Hill Reservoir, or you can go to the Rochester Museum and Science Center, or Rochester is an extension. I always tell people Rochester, we're an extension of the other suburbs that are there. You can go to Brockport. So the region, and I think of Rochester as a region, to come and see this total solar eclipse is going to be awe-inspiring for folks, and it's going to give people an opportunity to see Rochester. And we're taking advantage of this because we know the solar eclipse is that Monday. I believe it's April 8th. Monday.
April 8th, yeah.
But what we're doing is we're saying come on April 4th. Mm-hmm. Because if you come on April 4th, you can go to the Strong National Museum of Play and go see the Toy Hall of Fame. Or you can go to the Rochester Museum and Science Center and see what they got to offer there. Or you can go and visit some of the wine places in the Finger Lakes region and have a good time there. So we are trying to make this a major economic development driver for our city. Not just on that day, April 8th, for a couple of minutes, but for that entire weekend and beyond.
Yeah, so people come back. One of the things, I was at the announcement of the RPO.
Yes.
They're having a deal that I think it's the 7th, right?
Yes, the 7th, the night before. We are going to have a free concert at the Blue Cross Arena where they will be playing all those great songs to get you ready to take off into space.
That's right.
And I'm a big space guy, so to be able to hear the RPO play great songs, great music for folks at a free environment at the Blue Cross Arena is a great prelude to what will be the main event.
And that's something that Rochester has. I mean, like I said, you get a town outside of Rochester, you might be able to see the solar eclipse, but you're not going to have the RPO.
You're not going to have the RPO.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to go on Parcel 5 and be there right in the middle of the city. You're not going to be able to go to the beach and go grab something to eat from a restaurant down there, Mr. Dominic's or whatever it is, pick your place. I mean, you're not going to be able to be in a city that has a 75-foot waterfall and is downtown, a river, a lake, and a beach, and then see the eclipse. Rochester is a place that is so unique and such a place to be able to see this. So it's going to be a major event for us, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, when we come back from our break, we'll start talking about a couple of other things. I mean, there's some things on people's minds: crime, police department, accountability board. I mean, there are legitimate things that people have questions about that I know you can address, and we'll do that when we get back in a second.
Looking forward to it. See you.
Well, welcome back. You're listening to the No Nonsense Roundtable. We're talking to Rochester Mayor Malik Evans. Now, your first day of office was 2022. January 1st, midnight 2022. And I got right to work as soon as I started. I got sworn in and I immediately was over at the Emergency Operations Center visiting the workers, thanking them. So there was no honeymoon. No. I remember back then because I interviewed you, I think in October.
That's right.
It was before the election. And I kind of snuck you in because I'm not supposed to have current candidates on the show. They won't let me do that.
Right.
So when are you coming up for election again?
2025.
Okay, so we can have you on a lot between here and there.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And not get into trouble. But the whole world has changed since then.
Right.
I mean, there are things we're worried about now that we weren't worried about back then. And the things that we're really concerned about back then that we're not worried as much now. Like COVID, we're not worried as much COVID.
When I came on, it was big. I mean, in fact, I remember my inaugural ball was postponed and moved to March, and then my inauguration ceremonies at the Eastman Theater, where 2,000 people were going to come and watch me get sworn in, were scaled down. I think we ended up only having 50 to 100 because we had to do that because of the whole threat of the Omicron variant that was going on. But yeah, it's changed, right?
Well, yeah, and talking about good and bad, back then we weren't worried about anti-Semitism like we are now.
No.
That's a new challenge that you have. But it seems like the the problems with the police relations or whatever, it seems to be clearing up a tad. I mean,
we're always working on trying to ensure that we improve police community relations. I mean, that was a challenge then. I think it's still a challenge. I think that'll be a challenge for a long time.
It's always going to be.
It's always going to be. I mean, you're always trying to recruit. I mean, we're short about 100 officers in the Rochester Police Department. There are shortages across the country in terms of people coming into profession. We're doing innovative things in terms of trying to make sure we recruit folks. We have a workforce development program in which we get people who are interested in joining the police force, making sure that they can pass the exams, letting them get a feel for what it would be like. And we've had some success there. So we want to continue to do that. And then we've seen the other thing, that challenge I had when I was coming in, we had something like 85 homicides before I came in Rochester, which was the highest ever recorded in Rochester. And this year we will probably cut that, and we will probably end up with much less than that. We'll probably see from 2021 to 2023, we'll probably see a 30% reduction in homicides, and also a double-digit reduction in shooting. So our plan was around prevention, intervention, and suppression as means to bring down crime and violence. And we said very clearly that anybody being hurt or any violence or destruction in our community was unacceptable, but we had to have a plan for it. So we want to continue going forward on that trajectory. And then, in terms of public safety, we also talk about things that are not crime related. Remember, public safety is also ambulance services. Public safety is also 911. So we instituted for example, something that a lot of people may not know about, a nurse navigator program, where if someone calls 911, they can be automatically connected to a nurse navigator to see if it's important to send an ambulance, or if we can just get you connected to urgent care. And that has unclogged the 911 system and made care better in our community. We're one of the few in the country to do this. And it's really something that was absolutely groundbreaking, and still is groundbreaking, that we're doing. So the nurse navigator program is a very exciting thing that we did as it related to public safety. And then in terms of violence prevention, we launched the Peace Collective, which was a $5 million investment in community-based organizations that were working to make sure that people in the community stayed away from violence, to make sure that we were proactive in terms of stopping violence. And that was great from the preventative standpoint. And then our intervention and also suppression efforts with the U.S. Marshals, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the New York State Police, and the Monroe County Sheriff has also helped us go after the worst of the worst as it relates to offenders and get them off the street, to be able to get them to change their life. And then another piece that we launched as it relates to violence and bringing these numbers down is our gun-involved violence elimination program, GIVE, which is a program with the Rochester Police Department in New York State. And this also goes after known individuals who might want to get into trouble, to try to show them a different way, but also get them off the street. So we've increased that. It encourages them to earn a GED, go to college, or take advantage of other services, so that way they can support them in leading to a positive lifestyle. So that has been efforts that we do. This doesn't happen without leadership. It doesn't happen without a plan. And we want to try to push these things forward as we go into this new year of 2024.
Well, explain for me, if you would, because I'm not really sure what the concept of this is. The gun state of emergency. You just extended that. What is the scope of that?
So the gun state of emergency, what that does is that that lets people know that it almost dramatizes the fact that when someone is shot, it should be a big deal. Because what I felt as though is that people thought, someone's shot, let's just go on about our life. But I wanted to say, no, this is a state of emergency, and this isn't normal. You should not have hundreds of people being shot over a year. So we said, we're going to declare a state of emergency. And what the state of emergency does is it gives us powers to be able to shut down places where you might have issues, and it gives us the ability to close down streets if there are streets in the city of Rochester that are causing problems. And I have been able to do that over this past year. I did that on Jefferson Avenue. I did that on Scioto Street when we saw upticks in violence. And really what it is, it gives us an opportunity to go deal with the issue and the situation instead of saturating the entire community. It allows us to pinpoint that one street or one area where it might be a problem, particularly as it relates to gun violence. and being able to go in there and stop it.
So what you're saying is that we've become desensitized to it? Is that
I think some people have, and I think that we never should be. Any life lost should be a life that we all should see had value at some point or could have had value into the future. And there's actually a way, I'm a numbers guy, there's actually a way to quantify the dollars lost on lives that are lost.
Well, if nothing else, it's to drown people's emotions, their lives, the healthcare system. I mean,
it's expensive. You get shot. If you get shot and you become paralyzed and you don't have a job or money, those are dollars that the taxpayer will pick up. And then if someone is shot and they're buried, that's someone who could have cured cancer. That's someone that could have cured diabetes. These are lives that we are losing. And I think oftentimes what happens, people say, that's just the way it is. But the state of emergency says, ladies and gentlemen, we're in a state of emergency. And when you get people that are dying or being shot at large rates, we should pay attention to it. And more importantly, it says, Mr. Mayor, use every tool at your disposal to try to bring those numbers down. And we've been able to do that. And I attribute the gun violence state of emergency as one of the tools. It's not a silver bullet, but one of the tools, no pun intended. It's not a silver bullet, but it's one of the tools that we could use in order to bring down the levels of unprecedented violence that we saw in the years of 2020 and 2021.
Okay, there's one other thing you can educate me on before the break is that the Guaranteed Basic Income pilot program that you have.
Yeah, so that the Guaranteed Basic Pilot Income Program was a random drawing of 400 citizens throughout the city of Rochester. And what it is it would supplement their income. So similar to the earned income tax credit. And it really is an experiment to see if these people are able to move out of poverty. Are they able to meet financial goals? And that was the idea of the program. Thousands of people applied for it. And the last cohort just ended. And now we are going to track them using the Notre Dame Financial Education Lab, and we will be able to see how these people's lives were changed by getting that extra income for a year.
Well, you're not going to be able to tell how they spent it, but just how their quality of life.
Quality of life. You'll be able to survey them. You'll be able to say, did you spend this money on savings? Did you were able to pay down debt? Were you able to buy a home? Were you able to get a car for a first time? Were you able to get a job to transition you once those dollars go away to move up the economic ladder? Yeah. The whole idea is to see if you can get people to move from where they are to where it is that they want to be, and how this little burst of income for that short period of time helped them. So it's similar to the earned income tax credit. When the earned income tax credit took place in 2021, it cut childhood poverty in half for that entire year. So how do you do that? And then there's a whole educational component for this, because they can sign up to take financial education classes.
Well, with that, we're going to head into our last break, and we're going to see you when we'll talk to you when we get back. Well, welcome back. We're talking to, this is the last show of the year, so we're talking to somebody who is going to wrap up things for us for this year and give us a little bit of an insight for next year, the mayor of Rochester, Malik Evans. I call this the retail section of the show, where we talk about promoting whoever the guest is and what they want to do, and talk about a lot of stuff coming up. One of the things about Rochester, I have to tell you, is that you have to live someplace else to realize how nice this is.
That's right. And I have relatives that do it all the time. They come back, they live in larger cities than Rochester, a little bit larger cities than Rochester, but they spend weeks in the summer here because of all the things that we have going on. And I mean, there is so much coming up next year that we can talk about.
Well, Nina and I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina for a while.
Beautiful city,
and it's always nice. I mean, the problem is you get cabin fever in the summer when it's 100 degrees out and you don't want to go out. But here you celebrate when the weather's good. I mean, we have the concrete sky and whatever in the winter like now. But there's so many things going on, the festivals and other things that are regular occurrences like the Jazz Fest and whatever. So let's talk about
Jazz Fest. Some
of those things you got going on.
Listen, Jazz Fest is coming up. Some of the artists for the Jazz Fest has already been release. That's great. Summer Eclipse is coming up in April. We know that the Lilac Festival will be back. We know that all of our events at the public market will be back. Not only do we do events in the winter, but we also have bands on the bricks that happens at the public market. Rochester Soul Fest will be back again this coming year. Party in the Park is back again this coming year. So we have Puerto Rican Fest will be back again this coming year. Fringe Fest will be back again this coming year. And then we are also supporting tons of other small festivals that take place, large and small, on Parcel 5. Parcel 5 has been a destination. We had some festival, RPO around town, where we had RPO on Parcel 5, and we had them perform in different neighborhoods this past year. So all of these things will be coming back again in 2024, and they'll be bigger than ever. And the PGA won't be back again this year, but guess what? The Eclipse will be back this year. And we talked about the Eclipse in the previous segment, but the Eclipse is going to be huge on April 8th this year. So there are going to be a ton of events and things to do in Rochester. You are never bored. I always say to someone, if you can't find something to do, you're just not looking. There are so many things going on in Rochester, and there are so many opportunities for people to see all that Rochester has to offer. And I'm looking forward to a great 2024.
And you have some assets here. You have an airport that's fantastic.
Beautiful.
I mean, you have the Eastman Theater. You have the Eastman.
The Eastman Theater downtown, where you have the Rochester Philharmonic Orchestra, where they play, the Eastman School of Music. They're all there at the Eastman Theater. And don't forget about Strong National Museum of Play. And I say National Museum of Play because this is a national treasure in Rochester that brings hundreds of millions of dollars in economic activity to the city of Rochester on a regular basis.
Well, how about the zoo? I need to get somebody here from the zoo.
You got to have someone on from the zoo. And if you know, there was a giraffe that was just born there a couple of days ago. Another giraffe was born. The county runs that. That is great. And then don't forget, one of our great places. I throw the first pitch out at least twice a year. The Rochester Red Wings, which is a great spot. We do our clean sweep from there. Our clean sweep will be coming up again in May. We hope that the community will take advantage of that. Hundreds of thousands of people come and descend and get our city ready for spring. It's one of I call it the big spring cleaning, and that takes place at the great ballpark.
Right.
They help with that, and then they come and catch a ball game, and then all the great things that the Red Wings do with the different nights that they have.
Well, the thing about Naomi and her crew is they get it.
They get it.
They get it. They understand. It's baseball, but it's not really baseball.
And they're great advocates for Rochester.
Oh, absolutely. That's the way we bonded with our girls when we were young. When girls were young, we would go to the ball game because you could have a conversation with them. Nobody's spilling beer on you like you're at some rowdy game of something else.
That's right.
So it was a lot of fun. So coming up for this year, what are your plans, hopes, dreams? If you were to accomplish one thing this coming year, what would it be?
Well, I think there's a lot of things, but one of the things is that a lot of the projects in which we planted the seeds on, I want to see them bloom. Maine and Clinton, I want to see that moving. I want to see a lot of our large-scale development projects continue to get that closer to being completed, including, which we didn't talk about in the other segment, but the Inner Loop, which is going to be a 27-acre fill-in. That is going to be 27 acres of developable land, making sure that we get that done. So all the things that we planted, continue to expand our recreation center hours for young people, which we did, and to get more young people working are all things that I want to see happening this coming year.
Yeah, let's talk about that inner loop thing, because all the urban areas have discovered that when a highway was put in between urban areas or urban neighborhoods or whatever, it cut the neighborhood off.
Cut them in half.
Oh yeah.
Cut them from being connected to downtown. So now we're stitching it back together, and in stitching it back together, it's going to be bigger and better than ever. So you're going to have over 20 plus acres of land that you will be able to put together and have for housing, to have for economic development, to have for open green space. It is going to transform Inner Loop North. Is going to be transformed. And if you need only a picture of what it looked like, you can go over and look at Inner Loop East, where near Strong Museum,
right,
which looks totally different. People don't even recognize it anymore. We literally built new streets there. Adventure Place did not exist, and we built Adventure Place there. And that was only about 8 acres. So we're talking about 20 plus acres. So imagine what the possibilities could be.
Right, and that was a fallacy of urban planning, I guess, 50 or 60 years ago, that you would put a loop in a city or a highway, and it would cut off the neighborhood.
And it looked horrible. It's a big moat, and you got rid of businesses that were there.
Right.
You got rid of churches that were there.
Right.
And it just wasn't wise city or urban planning at all. Not at all.
All across the country. Look at the Cross Bronx Expressway, what that did.
That's right. The Kensington Expressway. You can look at a lot of these places. You can look at it in New York City. You can look at I-81 in Syracuse. I don't know if I got the number right, but whatever the one is in Syracuse, they've come to Rochester to look at what we did with Interloop East, and they want to mirror the same thing in Syracuse. And Rochester has gotten lots of props and magazine covers because of what we did with Interloop East. I believe that it will be even more transformational when you look at Interloop North because it'll be bigger and it will be even better.
Well, I was looking at the bio of you, and obviously you're not doing this for the money.
No.
At age 16, Evans helped found the City Council, Youth Council, that later became Youth Voice, and first elected to Rochester City School District at age 23.
I was a baby, yes. Now I have gray hair.
You don't have gray hair.
Well, I shaved for you, but over the weekend I let this beard grow in as I watched the Bills, and it was gray.
No, that's really not nice to mention to somebody who has no hair.
That's right. right. I guess gray hair is better than no hair. Right?
I thought you might have been a little more politically astute than that. So you're not perfect. So the New Year is coming up. Have a wonderful New Year. I wish you would come on more often. Maybe, like I said, co-host with me on somebody that you want to illustrate or talk to, and it's an honor to have you in my studios and taking the time to come down here.
Glad to be here. Have me back anytime. I enjoy it.
Thank you ever so much.
Thank you.
Next week, the No Nonsense Roundtable, 10 o'clock, right here on News Radio Wham 1180.
Thanks for listening. Tune in every weekend from 10 to 11 on News Radio Wham 1180. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll make more.